Hey, hello, and welcome to a new video. Today I am just playing with some posca markers, and I'll talk a little bit more about the art at the end of the video. I hope you don't mind, it's more of a voiceover format just because I was in the zone when I was drawing this, and so I just did not talk. But I wanted to just kind of ramble about art and social media again because I think about both of those things a lot. So I thought I could just record myself talking and hopefully we can have an interesting conversation. So I guess we'll just get into it. I know that I did say that I got really into this art process. I just want to warn as you're watching it to trust the process. I like how it turns out. Just trust the process. And then getting into my topic for today, I wanted to talk about social media's impact on which art mediums are popular at the moment, because I don't know if it's just me, but everywhere on social media right now I see people using acrylic paint pens, and I really like how the art of those videos turns out, and it looks really fun to the point where I was wondering, should I get these to try them? And I know a lot of those videos are sponsored, so that's kind of the point. And I guess the sponsor thing is another conversation, but even just trends, I suppose. So like trends and sponsors. But that's why I decided to use my Posca paint pens in my sketchbook like this, because I was thinking, oh, should I use my birthday money this year to buy acrylic paint pens? And then I was like, I have always had trouble using paint rather than markers because I hate being messy, I guess, with paint, because if it gets on you, then it doesn't dry and it gets on everything else. So I think you could see throughout the video, there's a few times where I'm like freaking out because there's paint on places that there's not supposed to be paint, including myself. So I think that I was reminded of that during this process, but I already own the Posca paint pens, and by attempting to make art with something that I already own, I was able to avoid spending money that maybe I didn't need to. I just find this topic interesting because when I watched art YouTube a lot 10 years ago when I was in high school, anyway, the biggest thing was Copic markers, and everyone wanted them. Everyone wanted all the hundreds of colors, but they were so expensive and there wasn't any good dupes for a while. I don't remember when Ohhh became a good alternative, and that is actually what I use now. I really like Ohhh markers. You can get a lot more colors for cheaper, and I think that that's a really good thing. But I feel like, at least in the people that I follow, alcohol markers have become less and less common, and it's changed to the acrylic markers or just the sketchbooks or digital art. I'm trying to think of more stuff that I see. A lot of people do use watercolors as well. And it's not that I don't see Copic markers. I just don't think they're quite as overarching of a want as they were 10 years ago. I think Ohhh markers plays a big part in that, because if I do see alcohol markers recently, I mostly see Ohhh, and I think that is a mix between they do sponsor creators to use their product, and I think that's how they started to get big in the first place, but I think the price point also makes a big difference. Artists don't usually make that much money, if anything at all, and so the cheaper alternative just makes it so much more accessible for people to be using. And I actually don't know the price point of the acrylic markers that I see everywhere. Let me see if I can find out. So Grabby's is coming up as $50 for a 48 set, which isn't bad. Artx is $30 for 32, which isn't bad. And this is just the first things that pop up on a Google search. I'm not sure if those are the prices everywhere, but that feels a lot more accessible. And then there's a Ohhh for $129, and it's the 120 set. Oh, and those are alcohol. Yeah, those are the alcohol markers. So that's about $1 a marker. And then if I look up a Copic, the 72 set of Copics is coming up as $220. It's more expensive to get 72 Copics than it is to get 120 Ohhhs. And the acrylic markers were also around $1 a marker. So I do think between the price points and the quality, it is becoming more and more common, and people see that and they're wanting to buy it. And I think this is getting more and more interesting. So I feel like, from what I understand, Ohhh use social media to get themselves out there, to market themselves, and they got good reviews from social media, which made them blow up. More people wanted to try them. And then because also Ohhh's prices are cheaper, they're staying in the circulation of just any artist, which means they're even more likely to come up on social media, which means that more people, even without Ohhh's marketing budget, are going to buy and use them and show them off and share them, which results in more sales. So I just think that cycle is really interesting. And it used to be Copic that was the big one that was everywhere. And I mean, granted, I could just be following the wrong YouTubers, the wrong TikTokers, the wrong social media faces, but I really think that Ohhh's managed to take over. And then the Art X acrylic markers that I'm pretty sure are the ones I've been seeing everywhere that inspired me to whip out my Posca pens. I'm assuming it's a similar situation, because if I'm seeing them everywhere, they are more than likely sponsored for a lot of people. But seeing that they're only $32 for 30 colors, that isn't an unreasonable amount of money to be able to try out what you thought looked cool on the influencer's account. I definitely think the cycle of events for these companies is really interesting, because they definitely wouldn't be everywhere without the sponsors, but they also wouldn't be everywhere if they weren't good quality for the price. And I just like seeing the trends, because art medium trends just as a concept in themselves is interesting, because theoretically we all make art because it makes us happy and we want to make stuff that we like, that gives us the good tingly feeling, you know what I mean? What the fuck is that? But you want to make art that makes you feel good when you look at it. That's the point, at least for me. And then some people also want to make art that has a deep meaning, which I think both of those things can differ a lot depending on the type of medium that you use. And some people like the effect of paint, some people like the effect of the marker, some people like the effect of digital. And to switch it to where everyone is using one type of medium specifically because it's trending on social media can then change the art output that is coming out and the meaning behind it and the feeling behind it, and people are just using the popular medium rather than what feels right for the piece. And I don't think that's really a critique on the people, because you're gonna do what you want to do still, but maybe it's just a critique on, I don't know, capitalism, society. It's just interesting that we all want to do the cool thing and fit in. And, if their art looks good with that one marker, then mine must look good with that one marker too. The human brain is so interesting for that, because why do we all end up in this cycle? Is it like a social experiment? Because I was not interested in acrylic markers at all for a while, and then I just kept seeing them. I know that was the most rambly thing ever, but I hope that I got at least some decent points out of my brain. Now, to talk more in depth about the art. Like I said, I really like how this turns out. It is one of the most trust the process drawings I've done in a long time, but as long as it turns out well in the end. Like I said, I still didn't like the mess of the acrylic markers. I was scared to get it everywhere, but I was able to keep it pretty clean, and I didn't have to worry about mixing anything because they're pre-colored markers, and mixing is a lot of the mess. And while I was doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just proving I don't need to buy those acrylic markers. I didn't end up buying the acrylic markers, but I am happy with the turnout. And this is the first time that I can remember that I have tried to actually draw a person, which is normally what I draw every other time. With the Posca markers, they've always kind of just been something I use to decorate. I use it to decorate the front of my sketchbooks. I've used it to decorate gifts and Halloween decorations. I've never actually painted with it. And maybe it's because I get stressed out with paint, as we've gone over. But I'd be willing to try it again after this. I didn't like when it was just the dark blue and the red and the silver, but once the yellow was added on, and especially when I got to use that light blue to add some shading on the yellow, I really start to like it. And especially, I like how the face turned out, and I love the pink background. Now, I could be biased because I just love the color pink, but I think it helps I think it brings a good attention to the face, because the red hair being a similar color to the pink, it kind of blends in, but the yellow is not a similar color to the pink, so it stands out. So your eyes go to her face, which is my favorite part. I think she turned out looking really well, and I think that the the contrast between the light blue posca and the yellow is just right to be pleasing to my eye. And I think it's interesting. I forget that she's yellow in this. So like, I don't look at this and think that she's in The Simpsons. I kind of just tune it out and just appreciate it, I guess. I don't know if my brain makes it look like a skin tone necessarily. That might be going too far. But I don't think about the fact that she's yellow once the piece is all together. I also think that I like that the light blue worked as shading for the silver jewelry on her as well, because I think it ties that whole section in together, and then the darker parts are more fading into the background, and I enjoy that. I think compositionally it turned out well. And it's just for my sketchbook. It doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, that's the other thing. I think that adding the highlights also helped make it feel finished. Just, I guess, the rendering in general, what a surprise, made it feel finished. And I like the blushy, even though it wasn't 100% necessary. I think it's cute. Oh, and I did put line work down because that's what I'm used to, and I wanted to make sure I could see the lines. But some of it gets covered up, which in the past I would have tried to fix, but I think it kind of works for it. And anything that was important, like her nostril that got covered up, I just went in with the black again and darkened the lines so it looks correct now. And then I'm not exactly sure what we're looking at right now because I haven't sped up the video yet because I wasn't sure how long I would ramble on. But at the end of the video, I do have me officially taping the painting into my sketchbook because I used a different sketchbook's paper just to make sure I didn't make anything too wobbly or ruin anything else in my actual sketchbook. But I thought that potentially someone could be interested in how I was sticking it in to my sketchbook, so I included that at the end. It is my little Elmer's tape runner. That's what I have that I use to tape it in. That's what I tape most things in my sketchbook with. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this short little video today. Please let me know if you use acrylic markers, if you use basically any viral art supply. I would love to hear it and what you think about just the concept of like trending art supplies. But I have all of the socials that I am putting on screen. I try to post on there relatively often so you can see what I'm up to. And if you did enjoy the video, I would love if you commented, like, subscribe, all of the fun YouTuber stuff. And I will hopefully see you again soon. Have a great day.